I welcome everyone to Senate Education, AA 322. Act relating to public libraries. We're looking at the differences between Senate passed version and House passed version.
Thank you, Beth St. James, Office of Legislative Counsel. So, S-220 passed out of the House yesterday, but the as passed by version is not ready for you. So what I've done is I have taken the committee report from the Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee, which had this bill in the House, and I have highlighted the differences between the Senate passed version and what you're looking at will be what the House passed version looks like. So you can see there's no changes to section 1.
You see, of course, there's nothing highlighted on these paper pages.
There isn't?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because you're looking at your version.
Yeah.
So
Just the whole.
Yep,
Okay.
I did not have a chance
Got
to share this yet. So
Okay.
Morgan has it now.
Great.
So if you want to just watch the screen.
That'd be great. Please.
So there are changes to section 1. Is
Okay.
that big enough?
Yep.
Okay. Section 2. This is requiring all public libraries to adopt a selection and reconsideration policy. So this is a change you'll see throughout. Previously, the language was a policy for the selection and reconsideration of library materials. And now throughout, you will see a library material selection policy and procedures for the reconsideration and retention of library materials. So essentially the same concept, but making it clear that the policies on selection and the procedures around reconsideration and retention. Okay. And then again, same section, anywhere throughout this bill where there is a requirement that a library develop a selection policy or retention procedures or reconsideration procedures, there's reference to the First Amendment, the Civil Rights Act, as laws prohibiting discrimination, places of public accommodation, and then the language that's highlighted on page 2, lines 3 through 5, is also added consistently throughout. So the policy and procedures need to comply with the First Amendment, the Civil Rights Act of 1964, state laws prohibiting discrimination, places of public accommodation, and reflect Vermont's diverse people and history, including diversity of race, ethnicity, sex, gender identity, sexual orientation, disability status, religion, and political beliefs. No changes to section 3. One very small change to section 4, and that is to update the term. This is a criminal statute, and it used the word private school, which is an outdated school, so we've updated that to independent school to reflect the term that we use in Title 16. And then just no changes to section 5, and this is library governance for non-municipal libraries. So those nonprofit libraries that received some or all of their funding through public funds. And then this is the same concept, so governance, but for municipal libraries in section 6. There was some change here. So the first change is the Senate passed version stopped at establishing a library budget, and the House added for consideration by the legislative body of the municipality for inclusion in the municipality's budget. I believe that this language was developed jointly in some way between the Department of Libraries and the League of Cities and Towns. And then in subsection C, so only the highlighted language is the addition from the House. And it's modifying slightly. So current law says the board may appoint a director for the efficient administration and conduct of the library. The Senate added the language, a library director shall be under the supervision and control of the board, a library board of trustees. And then the House is adding some more clarifying language. Unless the employee relationship is otherwise specified in the municipality's charter or by written agreement between the legislative body of the municipality and the trustees. in the giant 900-page library report, there was reference to the fact that while there has been a Vermont Supreme Court case that talks about when it's a municipal library, who does the library director report to, and it's the trustees. That doesn't mean that the municipality can't establish other relationships, and so this language is meant to account for those places where other relationships are already established, or might be established in the future. But it would not supersede any existing relationship. And then, so we're in the Department of Libraries chapter. Again, so this language is the Senate added subdivision 9 about requiring or allowing the Department of Libraries to develop and adopt model policies for all of our public libraries. And again, this concept of a library material selection policy, as well as procedures for the reconsideration and retention of library materials, those terms are used throughout. There's already reference to the First Amendment, adding reference to the Civil Rights Act, and adding references to Vermont laws prohibiting discrimination, and then replaces the public accommodation. Again, that same change, shall adopt a material selection policy and procedures for reconsideration and retention. In the House passed version, it was a collection development policy. So same concept, consistent language. And then section 7A is the school library material selection policy. And again, this section already had that concept of a library material selection policy and procedures for reconsideration. The House added again retention to be consistent with everything for the municipal libraries. Added reference to the Civil Rights Act and Vermont laws prohibiting discrimination in places of public accommodation, again to be consistent with the public libraries requirements. And then the same language about reflecting Vermont's diverse people and history.
Okay.
Then that's it. The effective dates have changed a little.
Okay.
So the requirement that public libraries develop and adopt a selection policy and reconsideration procedures, and that school libraries develop the same, would not take effect until July 1, 2025. So we're giving them time to develop those policies. And then the Department of Libraries is their requirement to develop their own material selection policy and come up with a model policy would take effect on January 1st, 2025. And then that would give the public libraries time to consider the model policy before their July 1, 2025 deadline. And then everything else takes effect on July 1, 2024.
Good questions. Me too.
Pretty minor.
This is the only change.
No,
Throw, what?
what we'll do is Morgan will
Just
print
add
you
it
up.
to it.
That's not it. Morgan will print you up, all of us, the highlighted version.
Found it.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Yeah, I'd like to say, so he's just, can you go down and light a
Yes.
fire under him so you can,
Yeah.
if you can take us off,
No problem.
and then we will,